You're watching In Focus with me, Hugo Ribatika, in for Thabo Mdluli. In our next conversation, AfriForum wants Acting Supreme Court of Appeal Judge Raylene Keightley, to recuse herself from the Kill the Boer case, alleging bias. The lobby group says it received a lashing by her in a court during a 2018 matter. AfriForum's Ernst joins us for more. Ernst, appreciate your time this evening. Now, let's start off with the provision of a historical context for the origin of Kill the Boer song, and certainly its significance during the apartheid era.
Right, what's the question?
So give us some context into Kill the Boer song. Obviously, it's been used long after apartheid, certainly long after 1994, but just bring us into context, into the origins of the song, just for the purposes of laying out our viewers on the matter at hand before we move on to the next question.
Sure. So I'm no historical expert, so I can only share my own layman's understanding of the historical events surrounding the song. So the Kill the Boer song, there's two different songs. There's the Kill the Boer chant, and then there's also the Dubelai Bunu song. And those two originate in the previous century, and they were sung in the particularly surrounding the 1990s, surrounding the negotiations at the end of as apartheid was ending or coming to an end. And now, specifically, Kill the Boer is still being sung 30 years later, and that's where the whole debate now is surrounding, is whether, firstly, whether Kill the Boer is hate speech or not, and then secondly, whether it has any place in a democratic South Africa. I think that's the basic overview that will give your viewers the context that they need.
Thanks for that, Ernst. Now, how do we define hate speech?
So hate speech is specifically speech that directs hatred towards a group or individual based on their identity, but it also has to contain an incitement to violence or a call to violence. Without that call or incitement to violence contained in the speech, it doesn't qualify as hate speech. So hate speech is not just speech that is hateful, it is speech that is hateful that also contains an incitement to violence element.
Now, before we get to the matter at hand, allow me to ask just one more question. If there is a call to violence and there actually is no violence enacted because it is potentially rhetoric, is that another aspect to the conversation or to the debate?
Well, when it comes to the whether something qualifies as hate speech or not, whether people act on the hate speech or not is not going to determine, or is not going to take away from something qualifying as hate speech or not. An example would be, I don't know, there was a question here from, I think, from your producer. I don't know if that was maybe an accident. I'm a bit confused.
No, then carry on with our conversation.
Yeah, there seems to be two wires crossing there. But anyway, so for example, if a politician were to incite violence against xenophobic violence against illegal immigrants in South Africa, but nobody follows his command or nobody follows his speech, he would still be committing hate speech. It's not determined by whether someone acts on the speech or not.
Okay, fair enough. Now, AfriForum has requested Judge Raylene Keightley's recusal from the Kill the Boer case, alleging a bias. Now, what specific incidents or actions by Judge Keightley prompted this request?
So this request follows after it came to light this past week that Judge Keightley lashed out against AfriForum in court in 2018 by arguing that this civil rights organization is unwilling to move beyond its, in her words, and I quote, anachronistic positions, end quote. At the time, she also stated that AfriForum might wish to consider to apply for her recusal should she preside again in a case in which AfriForum is involved. So maybe just I know myself included, not everyone is a legal expert. So just what recusal specifically means is when a judge, for example, is unqualified to perform legal duties because of a potential conflict of interest or a lack of impartiality. And what we're seeing here clearly is an indication of a lack of impartiality.
Now, obviously, she was of one opinion in 2018, which was 5 years ago. you're convinced that 5 years later she is still of the same opinion and would be biased in this matter?
Yes, I don't think within 5 years most people would just drastically or radically change their opinions. It's possible, but from what we've seen specifically also in court this past week, she seems or appears to still be holding these biases towards AfriForum, and that's why we've written, our lawyers have written this letter now asking for her to follow her conscience and recuse herself. But if she does not follow her conscience or does not decide to recuse herself, then AfriForum will bring an official court application for a recusal from the panel.
Now, I think there has been some suggestion that she has a relationship of sort, I'm not sure in what capacity, with the Julius Malema. Is this correct? Is this part of your argument?
No, not that I'm aware. I think what you're referring to is a quote by Kali Kriel, the CEO of AfriForum, earlier this week. And what Mr. Kriel was stating there is that because politicians, for example, like Julius Malema, that sits on the Judicial Service Commission, there's often a conflict of interest where a judge could potentially not want to have certain judgments on their record that would clash with the ideology of people sitting or politicians sitting on the Judicial Service Commission. And this could apply to any politician there, not particularly or specifically Julius Malema. That's just the example that Mr. Kriel mentioned, but it could be any politician in such a position. Would be the incentive is then created that judges will be very careful not to make judgments which would influence their chances of being recommended by the Judicial Service Commission, specifically by political figures on that panel.
Now, how would Judge Keightleys' recusal or non-recusal thereof, in your opinion, impact the public's confidence in the judicial system in South Africa?
Well, if she follows her conscience and recuses herself, it would strengthen the public's trust in the judicial system, because it would show that, as an example of a judge that understands that within a case where they lack impartiality or where they have a conflict of interest, they set an example that they will follow their conscience. If she does not recuse herself, it weakens, has the potential to weaken the public's trust on the legal system, because then it shows that judges who appear to be impartial will continue to sit in or be part of a court case, even when that impartiality serious questions about it are raised, and specifically as well when you have cases where there are actually very strong evidence of this impartiality. It's not just a matter of opinion. Like I said earlier, 5 years ago, even Judge Keightley herself said that she stated that AfriForum might wish to consider to apply for a recusal should she preside again in a case in which AfriForum is involved, which is now the case in 2023.
Ernst, now finally, AfriForum has invoked a mediation agreement from 11 years ago, and it's an appeal regarding Kill the Boer case. Just bring us up to speed with that, and certainly what infringements might have occurred.
So again, I'll keep it sweet and simple. When it comes to that agreement, it was between, if I remember correctly, Julius Malema, when he was still part of the ANC, and the ANC itself, and AfriForum, and the agreement boiled down to that the song Kill the Boer, chant Kill the Boer, will no longer be sung at political events, and that the ANC and Julius Malema will dissuade their supporters from doing so. And I think it's quite obvious when we still in 2023 see the chant being done that it is a breaking of that agreement, and that's why that was brought up in court earlier this week, specifically the historical context where such an agreement was made, and now it is very clearly being broken.
Ernst van Zyl, AfriForum, appreciate your time. Thanks so much for speaking to us as AfriForum calls for acting judge to recuse herself in a Kill the Boer case.